Could your values hold the key to self-love? Could understanding what is important to you give you the life you deserve? Doing this process helped my guest, Kat Southall, change her life. Kat is a force of glitter ball energy. She can match my energy. I have never met such a joyful human being. Kat is a professional musician. She's always taught music, but now she's helping people to unleash their voice and their confidence with her new business, The Joy Coach. And she owns that name. She is a fellow Welshie, so you know the drill by now. When the Welshies come on, my accent gets stronger. You will be beaming after this episode. I promise. Enjoy. So I'm going to kick off with the first question. Are you comfortable?
I am. This is nice.
Nice. Okay. Who taught you how to love?
Well, I was lucky really because I had really loving parents, Errol and Robert Southall. And not only were they loving themselves, but we had a community of people. I grew up in Aberdeen, and it was one of those streets where we knew all the neighbours. We'd have like Bopa. Do you know Bopa?
No.
Oh, no. Do you know what? Recently I've been saying this and people are laughing at me. So
no, I didn't laugh, but
what is that? So Bopa. Now, if anybody out there doesn't agree with me, please say. But Bopa is a neighbour, which is like an auntie, but that isn't your relative, right? So we had like Bopa Morgan, Bopa Williams.
Wow.
And yeah. And so they were like family, but weren't family. So we'd like go to chapel with Bopa Morgan. Then we'd have that network of people, the community in our chapel as well. So there was a lot of love all the time. And I have a sister. There's only 18 months between us. So we are close as well. So I was really lucky to be surrounded by love, in my community, and lots of good friends in my community as well. So I think being brought up in a small town, I think, my parents were working and they were always working. So we had a nanny as well, after school to pick us up from school. And they were wonderful as well to us, So, yeah, so I think, and the values that have been instilled in us, me and my sister, they're just really grounding values. And I always feel that I feel lucky and grateful to have had such good values, to be honest with you. And yeah, we've always felt love then since I was at a young age. So I'm always grateful for that. And now I try and be the same myself. I try and give back as much as I've received myself. So, because it makes such a big difference. And especially when you have dreams and things you want to achieve in life, that was, for me, I was always supported. We were always made to feel that we could be anything we wanted to be. We could achieve anything we wanted to achieve. And I think that makes a massive difference as well, I've definitely had a lot of love around me growing up from my family, my community, and my sister. And we have a massive family, to be honest with you, as well. So lots of aunties and uncles, lots of children, visiting the grandparents every weekend, is very full, very, very, very full of love upbringing. So,
and that's, as you said, you were lucky, and that a lot of that is luck, in the fact that you're just born. So having that that network and that community, and they say, don't they, that it takes a village to bring up a child. And it sounds like with your, what are they called again? Boppers.
Boppa.
With your boppers. But it is similar in other cultures, isn't it? I know in India, like auntie, a lot of they use the word auntie a lot, and they, even if they're not an auntie, like an older person would be an auntie.
I love that.
Yeah, it's the elders, isn't it? It's the buffering adults. It's all of them different adults that you have that mold you. That it's your other. Like if I think of my childhood, it's not just my parents; it's my friends' parents and aunties and uncles. It's like everyone's in the mix, and
That's so true, because if you think about when we were in school, we'd go around our friend's house, you know, and so their family would be our family. We'd have tea with the parents and the family, and so that's true. Yeah, our friends as well, our friends' parents. Yeah.
So, what are your loves?
Oh, I've got so many loves. There's not enough time in the day for them all, to be honest. I well, obviously, I love people. So it's so important that to be honest, I've tried to not be so social sometimes. So I have a lot more quiet time, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So I love, spending time with friends and family, and also meeting new people, because I am curious and I love just people's stories, you know, the whole storytelling thing. I just want to find out about people. So so that's a big, big love of mine. I love the outdoors. I that sort of runs in the family. My sister's the same. I mean, she lives the other side. So we both on the country park in Aberdeen, Dare Valley Country Park. She can walk one way, I walk the other way, and we can meet in the middle and walk up the mountain. And that's on our doorstep. So we've been, brought up in this wonderfully green place. So I love doing that, going out, looking at, listening to the birds, just being, just walking and being. So I love the outdoors, and any sort of fitness and activity. I love that. I love doing anything. I love yoga. That's quite a new thing for me. I'm trying to do lots more sort of mindful exercise as well, rather than, just everything being quick. So I definitely spend more time walking and doing yoga. I love just these moments of calm, where you can just write down your thoughts and process everything. So I try to make time for lots of me time where I can, just process, because, it's like a roller coaster, isn't it, life? So I enjoy those moments. Like I light my candles, and sometimes I've got cards, like sort of decks of cards, angel cards, tarot cards, and I like shuffle them and I'll pull a card, and whatever it says, I'm like, oh yeah, because everything sort of suits, doesn't it? Everything aligns to how you're feeling at the time. Oh, yes. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I'll do more of that. Just those moments where you're just like, doing the spiritual side of things. Love that. Traveling. I love traveling. If I could do more travel, I would. But usually I've just got to try and make a bit of money so I can do some traveling. But I love to experience new places, new cultures, hear new languages, being somewhere new. And obviously my music, the performing, I still love doing that. I love singing and performing. I don't think that's ever gonna go. People come up to me, you still singing now? You still performing then? Oh, you're still doing that, are you? Well, obviously, that's who I am. That's what I'm going to do till the day I die, I hope.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? That's interesting I think that might be, this could be wrong, Kat, but I think that might be like a Welsh sort of, almost like a whimsical dream kind of thing. Like, right. That sort of sense of, oh, she's still giving it a crack,
Honest, I do think you're right there, because it's that thing, isn't it? Where if if you're not, because the other question I get is, why don't you try one of those shows then? One of those talent shows, have you tried that? The X Factor or and it's almost like if I'm not in the limelight, I'm not doing it. And to be honest, I do think for years, I did battle with that a lot
Hmm.
because I've got to the point in life now where I'm like, well, it's actually who I am. It's not what I do. So it doesn't matter what I'm doing really. It's that I'm enjoying it and I'm living it really. I'm being the artist. And I think that got lost along the way because actually I'm joking about it. But when you hear those questions all the time, and now I will say that, like I said to you, well, of course, that's who I am. I'll be doing that till the day I die. I say it now, but I think I used to have that little gut feeling of, oh, well, yeah,
Yeah.
I am doing it, but oh, maybe I'm not doing it, yeah, to where I
Yeah.
should be at. It's
Yeah.
this should thing, isn't it?
Definitely. There's a
Um,
should thing, and there's also and I think a lot of creatives have this battle in the fact that success looks like a record contract with Sony or
mm,
with Virgin or whatever. Like that is success. Being in the
yeah.
charts or being like selling out arenas. That is, and if you're not doing that, well, what's the point?
What's the
And
point? Why are
you
you
know,
doing it?
yeah,
Why
why
are you
not?
still having a go?
Yeah, and it's
Oh, you
nonsense.
are right.
Yeah, it is. But I think
It is.
it comes from a good place because I think you're wildly talented and you have had an amazing career. And I think for the people that are saying that's what they want for you, to know?
I
They
know it
want
is.
you to
That's the
be there,
thing.
to know?
They do. They do. And I realize that now. So it doesn't feel crunchy. And maybe also when I was younger, yeah, I was like, I want to be on top of the pops, when we had top of the pops. I did have those goals. And obviously I still have the goals of getting my music out there and getting it to as many people as possible. And there's new platforms to be able to do that now. The industry's changed as well. But more than anything, now I feel that in my community, I feel at peace with everything, and I totally feel that warmth that people do care. And also, when I get asked to do community events and things like that now, I'm like, I really look forward to it. Whereas I feel like years ago, I would have been like, oh, well, I'm still doing community events. But now I'm like, oh, it's wonderful to be able to do that and to have the support of all the people around you. I'm very lucky, and I am community at the end of the day. So
Mm.
so yeah, it is, I think, choosing this music industry. It is a journey. It
Mm.
is a journey.
And that's interesting around, like, you mentioned about how other people's reactions have impacted you over your life. Being
Mm,
that one of the, like, I would say I'm a singer. I've sung, I've been in bands, I've done all that. But I knew from my early 20s, I knew I didn't have the skin for it. I knew that I couldn't take the rejection because I
mm,
didn't have the confidence. Now I got all the confidence. But at the time, I didn't want it enough. I wasn't bolshy enough. I didn't have that.
mm.
So, and I think a lot of that comes around to how loving you are to yourself. I just used to give myself a terrible time back then. How loving are you to yourself?
Oh, it's taken me a while to get to where I am because I used to be really tough on myself. I'm definitely, I don't know if it's to do with the fact that I went on a journey as a classical singer. I trained to become an opera singer, really. So it was very strict. Everything about it was scheduled and strict, and it's that whole thing of early nights and not drinking and practice, 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 practice. And also, I went to Welsh language schools, and the Eisteddfod was a real big deal. So there was always competition all the time. If you don't win, in the local I7, go on to the next. It's you haven't done it. Then you haven't achieved. You haven't grown. You haven't got to the place where I guess you should be at. And it was always grading as well. Everything was grading. I had to pass all the grades. So I feel like because of that, that might have sort of, and which I'm so grateful for, because I know how much it instilled this sort of this get up and go, and it did instill that, and that sort of confidence, I suppose, because I didn't have it until I worked and worked and worked and went on this journey. And then because of that whole thing, I feel like I might have become a bit of a perfectionist because of it. Like, because it was had to be a certain way and you had to hit the notes and all of this. And I spent years after that trying to unlearn almost.
Mm.
And I love the idea. And I've always loved the idea of being free, of being an artist, so somebody who just feels. And I wanted to be that person, really, I think. And I didn't love myself enough because I was very, very hard on myself. I was never good enough. And I carried that not being good enough until right up until the pandemic, when I thought, I cannot go on. I can't go on in life like this anymore. I can't. Oh, honest, George, I got to the point where I felt like I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was because nothing I did was right. Nothing I did was good enough. How was I ever going to get anywhere? How was I going to achieve these goals, these dreams, these ambitions when I just didn't feel good enough,
Mm.
basically? So, so I hit a wall. And I think in that moment, I had a breakdown. That's for the first time in my life. I felt like I was crying all the time. I was just wanted to curl up in a ball. I didn't want to have to try almost. Felt like I was constantly trying. It was a bit of it always felt like a battle, always felt like a battle to get where I wanted to get to. And and I realized that was all here, really, because everything I was doing was wonderful. It was joyous. It was, I had wonderful jobs, working in music. I had lots of different gigs, lots of experiences, but my head was always battling. I was always getting to that point. It's like, oh, and I'd wind myself up. Like I'd be like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm not good enough. And one day I came home, and that's when the whole breakdown started. I said to James, I used to it. I have serious learning difficulties. I'm unable to achieve these things. And he said, wow, no, you really don't. You really don't. And I said, no, 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 I really do. I can't. I don't think I can do this. And that's when we knew I needed to approach it. And then I went with a coach to do NLP,
Mm.
therapy, and we broke everything down. We worked together for a year, I think. And yeah, through that, he stripped it all down, went through all my values, did this timeline therapy with me. So we did this whole thing where, well, I remember clearly when he said to write down your values, and I wrote down 100 values. And he said, oh, so where are you in there then? My career, my wants and needs, me, the self. not in there. And he said, well, and he said, well, how do you expect? Oh, he's brilliant. Jeff. Um, he said, how do you expect to do these things then without battle if you were not on there? So then we went through the values. We managed to get them down. So we had to get it to 5. And it was very much friends, family, community. Not, there wasn't even, because I was saying to him, I feel like I'm never making any money. I'm always a bit broke. He's like, well, where are the finances in those values then? Oh, yeah, money. There's no money in it. It's just so, when I saw it clearly, all these stages we went through, and I saw clearly that I wasn't putting me, not just putting me first, but I wasn't in there at all. So I hadn't approached it at all, and I've been on a journey, a self-discovery, self-help journey for years, but I didn't realize, yeah, how bad it had gotten until then. So now I make it priority that, don't get me, because I'm not perfect. There's times when it's this circle of thing I do when I'm like doing loads, and then I'm like, and I'm completely run down and I'm wrecked. And every time it's just what I do. I do. And then I'm like, oh, I best stop, but it's too late because I'm wrecked. So now I just try and listen to my body. I put habits in place, and every morning, I must spend like a good hour or maybe more in the morning on me, on my gratitude, being what am I grateful for? What do I have in my life? And then at the end of the day, what are the good things that have happened to me today? And I do affirmations as well, like no, I can do it. Just these positive, because I just got to keep giving myself that message and keep doing the work in order to know that I am good enough. So yeah, so I've got the habits are a life changer for me, to be honest with you. And I would recommend that to anyone who feels the same. I do think I didn't realize before that you really do have to make that time for yourself in order to be the best version of you and in order to connect with who you truly are, really.
Yeah, give yourself permission to be who you are.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, and obviously I always have those moments, but now I know what to do to combat it, and to come out the other side. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's interesting, isn't it? Because, like, when you're explaining that, there may be someone thinking, oh, that sounds like a lot of work to me,
Mm.
But you're working anyway. That's what I say to people.
Oh,
You're telling yourself a story anyway.
oh
You're
God.
just more conscious about the story that you're telling.
Mm.
And that's what you have to think about. You've got these 60,000 thoughts a day zooming around in your head every day. Like, you've got control on whether to believe them, whether to look at the quality of them, and that's what you're doing. You're looking at the quality of them and maybe changing them, and also just with the mindful activities, observing them and going,
Yeah.
oh, you're back. Oh, I haven't seen you for a while. That's what I'll do. Anything that like pops up, I'll be like, oh, my old friend,
Yes.
my old friend,
Yeah.
self-doubt. You're back again.
Exactly. And the thing is, you need it. You still need to do it at the times you feel good. And I think we can all tend to, we get to that point where like, oh, I feel awful today. I best do my self-care practice. But is keeping it going so that actually it's every day, it's just part of your life. And I know it does sound daunting. I mean, I've gone to extremes with that, getting up early and making it a bit longer because that's what I need. But it's just that one thing of what are you grateful for? I feel changes your mindset because we tend to wake up, oh God, what have we got going on today? And then straight away you're on. or you're on the phone and I've seen something that's daunting you straight away first thing. But if you switch it first thing in the morning, then at least you've got a bit of a chance then, haven't you, of having a good day. So I think, yeah, that's definitely something, just to do something small, and some stretches and just things that make your body feel good as well. Because sometimes I'll just leave the house in a rush and I'll be like, oh God, I'm aching. I don't feel good. I've got a bad head because my back hurts and all these things. It's like, well, just make a few minutes because we know ourselves, we know our gut. And if we need something, we can feel it, can't we, at the end of the day? So it is hard, and especially hard. I mean, I don't have children, so I can imagine for people who do. Like, it's a lot harder to put yourself in there when you're rushing around doing things for other people. So
yeah, one of the things that I'm incorporating with Kitty, like I can imagine if you've got very little children, it is hard. It is very hard, but I like to do them things with her to see. So we've both got yoga mats. So we both do yoga. She just jumps on me a lot of the time, but we both got yoga mats. I'll often say, right, what are our 3 grateful things today then? And she always says, I'm grateful for you, Mommy. And I'm like, oh, it's like a film. I'm like,
oh, that's so lovely. Yeah, hard.
Yeah, it's like, and birds come in and do our hair.
Well, that's going to make you feel good straight away, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing is, I'm the role model for her to see. Like, I'm conscious around the way I talk to myself. She's going to get her self-talk from me. So if I'm, I got wrinkles and, I've put a couple of pounds on. If I'm running myself down, she's going to see that and she's going to go, oh, right, okay, that's the way we talk to ourselves. So
and that's fine.
Yeah. And and I don't think it's anything uncommon for women your similar age to me. Like, if you think of the stories we grew up hearing, like losing weight and being perfect and all of that. Like, I remember there used to be, like, I used to have this get in shape girl. Do you remember get in shape
girl? Da, 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 na, 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 na.
Yeah, get in shape, girl.
I forgot about that.
I just don't think that's right, really, to be given a 10-year-old chuck girl. Do you know when it was like little weights and a skipping rope? And I don't know, it just had the feeling of, well, you're not enough. You're not good enough. Do you know, you need to do this to be better. Do you know?
Yeah, I don't definitely.
Know, maybe it was, or to just get people interested in health, but
it didn't feel like that, did it?
No, it didn't. It didn't.
And
feel
the magazines as well. And we had Just 17 and all those magazines. Everybody looked so perfect, didn't they? And we had Barbie.
Yeah, exactly. You know? We went down a rabbit hole. It was all about the 90s. I've saved you 15 minutes of your life there. I hope Kat is filling you with joy. Do you know what would fill me with joy? You subscribing to the podcast. It makes a huge impact to people finding our podcast, getting people on this love movement that we're on. If you could follow, and also if you know anyone that you think would love to have more love in their life and to listen to these conversations, please send this podcast on to them. Anyway, enough of me and my requests, and going back to Kat. So where in the world do you think there is a love shortage?
Well, I think all over, really. I think a lot of people are lonely and isolated. And I mean, a lot of our elders are children. And I see it around me all the time. And I think that's where the gap is. I think, like, we are, if you think about it, we're more connected now than we've ever been through technology, social media, even our phones. You know, we've got all our groups, our WhatsApp groups, and we can connect all the time. But sometimes I feel like, that authentic connection when you can have like a really deep and meaningful conversation with somebody and feel love that way.
Mm.
I think that that's missing a lot. And I'm a teacher, I teach children, and I can feel it a lot that they come in and a lot of them, they don't have that love at home. They haven't got a friendship circle, or they may be bullied. And I always try then and give more to them to know that I'm there for them, that they've got somebody. And I feel like that there needs to be more put out there, like in schools, even out of school as well, just for them to have a place to go and for somebody to talk to, and also to bring more well-being into the syllabuses, and to make more space for that, for us to like imagine if when we were in school that we were told these things. Because if we were told that this was important, it was important to have habits in place and to care for yourself, to say I love you, without feeling like an absolute idiot. And also with our elderly, I do feel like a lot of the time there's a lot of, and we saw this during the pandemic, lots of people living on their own, that they had such a tough time and they didn't have anybody there for them. And I feel like a love shortage comes from that isolation, from the loneliness. And I think it's important to put programs in place. And for us all, we've all got a place where we can help in that as well, to make changes, to be a little bit more understanding. I do feel that everything's so fast now. Like I say about technology, but also like people are impatient because of it. And that causes a lot of anxiety, which I think can be the beginning of the loneliness and isolation, because people then don't want to go out, and they don't feel like they want to meet people at the end of the day. So I think it's that thing of like, even I feel it, if I haven't replied to somebody's message within 10 minutes, it's like they get angsty.
Mm.
Did I say something wrong? Or is that not what you want to do then? And it's like, no, I've been really busy. Like, I had stuff to do, like work and life. So it just feels like everything's has to be immediate. And that's very stressful. So I just think time needs to be made. Do you know what I think the answer here is? Is making time to play, to just have fun. I don't feel like we're not silly enough. There's not enough silliness in this world, I feel. And I think if we can help people feel lighter, feel that they can be silly, this just like everything's perfect. Even all our filters, everything has to be right. There's no authenticity anymore. So I think to strive for that, definitely get into, education. I do think that's the way to go, to start young and to start, letting the young people know that they have a say and they are important, and to give them the tools that they are going to need in life. I mean, honestly, I'm going through this middle age stuff now, and I cannot believe I don't understand my own body at the moment. I feel like I'm starting from scratch again. And I was like, if only I was taught these things. I just feel like we never taught anything about connected to ourselves.
There's more and more people talking about midlife and understanding midlife, but we've got a lot to work on there. I think, especially with schools and the work that you've done with the choirs, with 10 of us, Like we were both, well, I was involved in the project at the early days. And that's when you see the power of connection, and you see the power of the impact of what isolation could happen. Like, just to give the listener a bit of context, there's a charity in Wales called 10 of Us, and they're a cancer charity, and they have these wonderful choirs, and they're set up for people that have been impacted by cancer. And the weird thing with cancer, you do, after you've had it, you've got more chance of getting depressed, which you'd never think so. You'd think that it wouldn't be that, but you've gone through a traumatic experience. And a lot of people are still frightened of it. A lot of people are frightened about reaching out and having this opportunity. I just used to remember the joy and the connection that was in them rooms, when people would get together and they would sing and as you said, be silly. I'd get them doing all the weird warm-up exercises and stuff, and they loved it. But like, otherwise they'd be sitting in their house on their own, after gone through a traumatic experience. And yeah, there's groups and there's counselling and there's loads of different ways, but I think there's something powerful about getting out and being with other people that have had the same experiences with you as you.
Definitely. Oh, that whole, you're so right about the 10 of Us cancer care choirs. They are so brilliant at getting people together. And it's that community feeling again, isn't it? It's of connecting. And what better way than through song?
Yeah.
I mean, oh, it's absolutely a wonderful way. And also it's being with like-minded people, isn't it? Being with people who are going through the same as you. And you don't have to go to a counsellor as such then, because yes, it's a scary thing going to a counsellor or a therapist, but to be able to talk to people about your day and about how you're feeling and about, the stage you're at with your cancer or any other illness you have, or even what's going on. Like, sometimes they don't even talk about any of it, They just be and just talk about what's
They're more
going on
worried about their harmonies.
Yes. Well, that's what's good, isn't it? Because it takes them away from everything else because they have to hone in on their harmony part.
Yeah, but that's great, isn't it? I remember when we had like a gig, we all went up to Liverpool, and it was a big gig in Liverpool, and there was this woman, and she was like, "Oh, I've got chemo next week, but I don't care because I'm going to be singing on a stage, and I'm going to get a new frock," and that's incredible because it gives people meaning and purpose. And they don't become their cancer. Like, cancer bonds them, but they are much more than that. They've got a bigger story and a bigger way to connect with other people. So yeah, they're magic. They are. I'm really proud of my input in that project. I feel like that is just amazing.
I was there with you, wasn't I, on the first ever sessions, and what an incredible idea. And you were amazing. I'm so glad we're still in touch because it's such a joyous, it's just helping others and being able to do that on a large scale. I mean, they are some of my best memories in life. So
yeah, slash. Oh, we're nearly at the end, Kat. I know.
It's not long enough, this, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, well, we should ask people who are listening. They might disagree. But yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully not. So when has love conquered all?
Oh, a time in my life when love has conquered all. I feel like through every stage of my life, love is what's got me through, I think. And I have experienced a lot of tragedy from when I was a little girl to now. And when I was 17, I lost one of my best friends in school. And I think from that moment, I thought, God, life is so short. It's just so short. And the people around me, which I said earlier, my family, my community, they were there for me. And that's when you need it the most, when you have these times in life, when you lose recently, we lost James's dad as well. And these nothing can prepare you for these moments in life of loss. And that's when you know that the people around you are all you need, really. They're there for you, even if you don't want to talk, even if you just want to be and you just want to cry or just curl up. It's just knowing those people are around you, which is why I think is so important, isn't it? To connect with people and for us to make sure that we do notice those people who are lonely and isolated, because love does conquer all, and especially at times when you need it the most, when you're going through the toughest times of your life, that's when you need love. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that what you're saying there is just looking out for people, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think we could all do that today, couldn't we? We could go, if we go, I don't know, shopping or out in the community, and you see someone that is on their own, or an elderly person, just even sharing a smile can make a difference to someone, do you know?
It really can. It's just kindness, being kind. If somebody smiles at me, like a big smile, how are you today, when I'm having a tough day, it really helps.
Yeah, it does.
It
Makes all
really
the difference.
does. And we're in such a rush, aren't we, a lot of the time? We go to the shops. I mean, then again, in Aberdeen, I will let James go to the shops because I'm not going to get anything done. I'll be in there for 2 hours. Do you know what I mean? But I think it's that thing of, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. And it's getting the balance, obviously. You can't be chatting all day to everybody you bump into, but it's that being aware of, oh, I just made that person's day. And a lot of the time because they tell you, oh, do you know what? I was feeling really, really low and everything was going wrong. But then you stopped to talk and we had that lovely chat. And so sometimes it's just, yes, it's something small, isn't it? A small thing can make a big difference. We don't need to do these big exclamations. It can just be, that small thing that makes a difference to somebody's day.
Well, I think that's a lovely way to end. Thank you so much, Kat, for coming on my lovely little podcast. It's been a joy to listen to you, and a joy to... And one thing you haven't mentioned, which I really do think you should mention in your loves, is fashion, your clothes and your style. You did not mention fashion. And to me, you are a fashion icon. I love your outfits.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I've always loved fashion. But then my mother's a stylish lady. So was my grandmother. So I think it runs in the family. And we did used to watch a lot of, Dynasty. So, they were always glammed up to the nines. So I feel like I've always loved fashion, but more so now than ever. I love to dress up. And it doesn't matter where I go, whether it's to the shops or if I'm doing a big show, I'm dressed up. It makes you feel better though, doesn't it? It makes you feel more energized and joyous if you put a load of colour on. So yeah. You're right. Can't believe I didn't mention that. And I didn't mention food.
Oh, well, you said you had a lot, so you couldn't mention. It's not like your values. We can't do 100.
Oh gosh,
we'd be doing it all day. Amazing. She is incredible. This conversation made me so happy. We could all be a bit more Kat, couldn't we? We could wear more colour. We could smile at strangers. We could check if our actions mirror what we want. we could all be a little bit more silly. Being more silly, yes. I think I will do that today. That will be my thing that I'm going to walk away today and do. So, until the next time, share the love. Bye.